Alright, welcome back everyone. Dr. Ben, not a real doctor here. And today I'm going to talk about the stages of skill mastery. I'll put more information down in the details below, so if you want to check anything out, look there. Before we talk about the stages of skill mastery, we have to talk about effectiveness and efficiency. And we're going to be talking in terms of movement here. When you talk about is a movement effective, what you're asking is, did it accomplish the goal of the movement? For example, getting up on top of a limb. May not have been pretty, but if you got up on top of the limb, it was effective. You are now on top of the tree limb. Was the movement efficient? That's question number 2. An efficient movement has to be effective, but it also has to use a minimum of energy. This doesn't mean that it will necessarily be easy, but it means that you will use less energy than other ways of accomplishing the task. So in order to reach a high level of movement mastery, it has to be both effective and efficient. So, having covered that, let's go through the 4 stages of movement mastery. First is unconscious incompetence. So in this stage, you are not thinking about efficiency. You are just moving. It's often effective, you often accomplish your task, but you are not doing it efficiently, and you are not thinking about doing it efficiently. This is the ground level of some sort of movement. The next stage would be conscious incompetence. So now you are aware that you are not doing this movement efficiently. You're not really thinking about how to do it efficiently yet. You're not applying efficiency to the movement, but you are aware that you should be. This is the start of improving a movement. Once you know that you're not doing everything you can to do it efficiently, now you can start trying to do it efficiently. From here is conscious competence. Now you are actively thinking about efficiency and applying efficient principles to the movement. The problem with conscious competency is that you have to think about the movement and doing it efficiently in order to keep the movement efficient. When you stop thinking about whatever your checklist is, or the form that you're using, or whatever you need to do to keep the movement efficient, then the movement sort of falls apart and you digress to a less efficient version of the movement. Again, it's still effective, you're still accomplishing your task, but if you're not thinking about efficiency, you are breaking down in form. And the last stage of skill mastery is unconscious competence. This is a stage where you don't have to think about doing the movement efficiently. You now own that movement, it's part of your toolkit, and you just do it. My favorite example of this sort of hierarchy of steps is learning to drive a car. Most people are familiar with learning to drive a car. So when you first get in a car, everything is overwhelming. You drive the car, you're trying to look at this, you're trying to look at that, you're trying to coordinate your hands with the pedals, turning the wheel, and it's all a little overwhelming. Right now, you're not really thinking about driving the car efficiently. You're just trying to keep from hitting something. Once you spend a little bit more time in the car, you realize that there are things you can do that make your life a little easier. You're more comfortable steering the car. You're more comfortable stopping and starting. Now you're at conscious incompetence. You figured out that by applying some principles to your driving, that it doesn't have the same level of oh god. When you keep learning more and more, you get to the point where you're paying very little attention to things like what you're doing with your hands and your feet, and you're paying more attention to keeping track of things around you. So now steering the car is less of an issue, making the car speed up and slow down is less of an issue. Now you're focused more on guiding the car where you want it to go. And if you pay attention to what you're doing, you're probably not going to hit anything. You're pretty comfortable steering the car, but you're still thinking about it. This is conscious competence. Once you reach the level of unconscious competence while driving a car, you are capable of having that experience that so many of us have had, where you're driving along and then 5 minutes later you go, how did I get here? Because you don't remember the last 5 minutes of wherever you were driving. That's because your brain has completely clicked off. Your unconscious competence level of driving has just let you kind of drive the car and not really pay any attention to it at all. It's all subconscious at that point. It just happens. That is unconscious competence. So those are the 4 stages of skill mastery. You'll go through them as you learn new movements and as you apply new contexts to movements you already have. It gives you a fun way to look at what you're doing, how you're doing, and whether or not you're making progress in how well this skill is being added to your toolkit. Natural movement doesn't have the same level of like add a plate and you're adding weight as weightlifting does and a lot of other forms of exercise, running faster, things like that. So this gives you a good way to gauge how you are in your practice, how well you utilize the movements you've been practicing. So there you go. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, or if you have a fun experience with this you'd like to share. Definitely share it down below. Like I said, I'll put more information down in the details below as well. If you liked the video, smash that thumbs up button, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing. Until next time, keep your life in motion.